You just got back from Vegas. Do you boys reckon that was a success, or do you reckon it's a slow building thing in progress?
It was never going to be an overnight success.
It had this kind of origin aura to it.
I want your prediction for our top 8.
Nostradamus.
I'm worried about Souths.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm extremely worried about the Rabbitohs.
Slowly as the years go on, they are losing that shine to them. Who will be the dark horse of 2024?
Yeah, look, I don't know if they're a dark horse, but I really liked what I saw from the Roosters.
Sometimes in sport, you need a narrative, you need a story, you need like a bit of a North Star to go to. And for me, that's Jared Waerea-Hargreaves.
They'll only improve. Come on, mate.
I don't know, man. I'm not falling victim to the hype. So now the flip side of the coin, boys, our wooden spooners.
This place is shambles.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 21 of Let's Trot. Today, what we got in store for you is a footy special. Alongside me, James Graham, Reni Maitua. How's it going, boys?
Sauce. Very well, mate. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, going good, mate. Recently returned from an overseas trip. Feeling very fresh.
I was gonna say, what did you get up to? You got a grazed knee, you got an eye that's almost sticking out of your head.
Well, the eye, I've come back from Vegas with the eye. I believe it's an insect bite. Well, that's what the pharmacy told me anyway. And this, it's from five-a-side. The competitive juices just can't get out of me. You know, don't want to leave the ground. That's a bit of a golden rule. Play amongst friends, but just can't help myself at times. So I leave the ground and unfortunately, grazed the knee.
Yeah, it doesn't look pretty. Ren, how you been?
Been good, thanks, Sauce. Yeah, really good. I didn't go to Vegas, that's for sure. I think we spoke about it llast time. I don't think I would have made it home, but
You and me both.
definitely feel like I missed out on something special. So definitely on the cards for next year.
I tell you what, I had a serious case of FOMO every time I was looking at your story, Braves, and the rest that were there. Was that killing you as well?
Oh, I had Willie Mason FaceTiming me every 3 minutes.
He would be carrying on the
Go
Lux.
away. I didn't answer one of them, but I knew what he was up to. And yeah, I spoke to Braith, and he just said how incredible it was. And he obviously he likes his food, Braith. Fair few good restaurants. But yeah, it's definitely on the list for next year.
Me and you both. Well, we've got the luxury of you, James, on the show today. You just got back from Vegas. So how was it, in your view?
Yes, also it was absolutely incredible. I think it exceeded the expectations of everyone involved. You know, last year when it first got tossed up, round one's going to be in Vegas. People go, "Oh, you doubted us?" Like, well, yeah, of course, because that's the position you're supposed to take. Because if it ever got tossed up, you'd just be like, "Well, no, we're not going to go there." And then to fast forward, to be there for round one, to be there at the season launch in Fremont Street, packed full of fans. Like the Australians took over, a load of English there. And I think, like I say, that the one way to sum it up, exceeded expectations. I'm glad that the NRL have got a 5-year plan in place, so we know what's next. And fans over here and the Americans can get ready for it. So it's not just a flash in the pan. It's not just a gimmick. It's not just a cash grab.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we've got a plan here. And whatever some of the, the objectives of the NRL are in terms of, gambling revenue, making a dent in the American market, bringing American athletes over to play in the NRL or the NRLW, whatever it is, that's only going to get bigger and better each and every year.
Yeah, because when they announced it, like we were in the middle of a civil war, players up against the NRL, and they decided to announce that, we're going to Vegas, and I thought, seriously, let's sort this out first, and then we can think of the future. But it's quite interesting because I also saw we tapped into the American market, of course, and it was like 61,000 viewers that tuned into the game. Glass half full, obviously look at that, 61,000 more eyes set on our game, especially in the international market. Do you boys reckon that was a success, or do you reckon it's a slow building thing in progress?
Look, for me, in terms of that it was never going to be an overnight success in terms of launching in America, and you're going to get all these eyeballs that are like, wow, what's this sport? It is going to take time because, mate, the sports market over there, for those of you that have been, is insane. I was sat at a sports bar and I just couldn't help it. I'm just drawn to like whatever's on and turn to another TV and it's like, it's female college lacrosse and you're just watching it. Like the sports are just non-stop. I was watching like Ultimate Tag. Like they had this on in this Mexican restaurant. Ultimate Tag. It's like one-on-one. I didn't know what was going on, but the Americans can't get enough sports. So for us to get a foothold in the market, that's going to grow. And I think from that perspective, they've got a nice base now, but they need to get it on each and every week. It can't just be once a year we turn up. It's got to be each and every week.
Well, Ren, you and me were obviously riding back home, watching it from a TV screens. How'd you find the games?
Mate, the first game in particular, the first 15 minutes was brutal. It felt, it had this kind of origin aura to it.
I agree.
It was just the intensity. I always had this, I was a little bit hesitant about the standard of footy that would be played, obviously, because it's round one. But the level of rugby league we watched in both games and the intensity, especially in those first 15 minutes, it's actually a shame that the college basketball went over time on FS1 and rugby league got switched to FS2. I don't know if it would have increased the viewership over there a hell of a lot, but the fact that they missed those first 15 minutes could have been something to build off the back of that. But not only that, what it did to be over in America, I think what it did for the Australian public as well, and for grassroots footy and people that have always been on the fence for rugby union or rugby league or playing AFL, to see the game go over there and thrive and have the amount of great publicity behind it. I think it's only done great for the Australian public as well, New Zealand public, Pacific Islands as well.
Yeah, it's a good point you made. Like, rugby union will always be better at us in the international stage, right? But I think this is a massive step. You know, obviously tapping into the American market now is a massive opportunity. When you look at the NFL and us, there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, high collision sport. You know, it's brutal. People love that. What about you, Gemma? I wanted to toss something up with you. So 5 years were there, right? My idea would be, why don't we swap the stadiums and choose a different location if we do got a 5-year deal with Fox One? Is it with the American channel?
I think so, yeah.
So we're tapping into different states in America, just not one particular state. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I think, you know, Las Vegas has this reputation of being, you know, the entertainment capital of the world. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But they are starting to change that image a little bit more through their sports. So NHL team started there, NFL team, they've got a franchise there. They obviously bought the Super Bowl, the F1 goes there as well. So, you know, I think they're now in direct competition with places like Saudi Arabia. Look at the boxing. So all your heavyweight boxers, your big boxing matches used to be held in Las Vegas. That was the mecca of boxing. Now it's starting to move towards the Saudi Arabian and that Arab oil money. So they're trying to change their reputation. So Vegas are responding by bringing sports to them. So the NRL and Australia and all the tourism that comes with it, I can see the Nevada government getting behind that, or the Las Vegas city itself being like, well, hang on, we can guarantee 30,000 Aussies or however many come over each and every year, plus all the Brits as well. But also gives us more entertainment from a sports perspective and being that home of sports in America. So I think that plays into it, that Vegas would want to keep us. I think it fits. I think it works. And for, you know, the traveling fans, Vegas is a big tick item. And sometimes you need a bit of an excuse to go there. Like if you just said to, you know, wife or husband or whoever, your missus, and you go, I'm just going to go Vegas. They're like, what? You're not just going. Or you need a 40th. You need a stag do. You need a reason to go. Oh, the footy's on. Oh, okay, you can go. You need the pass to go. And it's a bit more attractive to go there. You know, if they take it to, I don't say San Francisco or, you know, Denver. I went to Denver. Nah, it's all right. You know, and you think about the lads sitting around. Hey, should we go to Denver? Nah, I don't know. Tell you what, Vegas, I'm in.
Tell me about the conversation you had with your wife. It would have been quite play on, babe.
Hey, it's a work trip. It's a work trip.
I love that.
Hey, what am I supposed to
pay the bills?
Hey, just, you know, don't be jealous. Like, celebrate each other's victories. That's what I'm all about. That.
I love that. All right, it's fair to say it was a success in both our eyes, all our eyes, I should say. But okay, who's next? Which 4 teams are we taking next? Gemma?
Look, I think you certainly need a team from Queensland in there. That's massively important. It wouldn't surprise me to see the Broncos maybe go again. If not, Dolphins or the Cowboys. I think the Bulldogs make a strong case. I saw their CEO over there. He's very keen to explore going next year. I think Parramatta, their fans would travel well. And then another one. You really need one of the juggernauts. I wouldn't be surprised to see, you know, again, somebody repeat and go back like a South Sydney or a Manly, because they do travel so well. So I know it's going to be spread out, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some of those bigger Sydney clubs like your Manleys and yourselves that have that star power with Russell Crowe, with Hugh Jackman, look to go back again. Other than that, maybe the Warriors. It's a buzz in New Zealand at the moment, or the Melbourne Storm as well, which carry a big name. Whether or not their fans would travel, or there's enough fans that would go with them, I'm not too sure.
Pretty much mentioned the whole top 8.
Yeah.
We're taking Magic
Get
Round
the Raiders
there.
over there. Canberra, get them there.
What about you, Red?
Look, I just think we need our best players over there. So the best clubs in the competition. I think we want to showcase our best athletes, the guys with the biggest profile. Someone they can relate to. I think at this early stage in this whole Vegas, concept, is that people are going to travel to watch any team. It's Vegas. I love NRL. It might not be my team, but I'm still going to get behind it and go.
Mm-hmm.
So, for obvious reasons, they took South, they took Manly, Roosters. Roosters fans, they can afford to go.
Of course they can.
But yeah, like you said, Brisbane or Queensland side have to be there. So I don't really care at this stage who's going, as long as they're entertaining games and they've got some of our highest profile players going over.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Yeah, I'd like to see either a Melbourne or a Penrith go next year. I think they deserve to be there. Like, they're obviously one of the top teams of the past decade. Broncos, do they go again? I'm kind of sitting on the fence where I'd like to see different teams go every year. Canterbury's arguably got the most passionate fans in the game. Definitely will go in numbers if they were to go over there. You two know that personally. Parramatta as well, I feel like got a great fan base. So I guess we'll wait and see. Boys, let's talk about Premiership favourites. Okay, so obviously I feel like it's a bit of a different year coming up. The last 3 years, obviously we saw Penrith dominate. Quite extraordinary, elite. Gemma, who do you think is going to take it out this year?
Look, for me, early signs, I'm going to go with Penrith again.
Wow.
Look, I think, they've lost some players, but they still have the best player in the game, and that's Nathan Cleary. I think, yes, they've lost players from last season, but they found a new way to win. And that belief that gets instilled in that core playing group is stronger than ever, that they can win despite the fact players leave the field. So let's not forget, in that last 10 minutes of the grand final, Isaiah Yeo was gone. Well, even before that, Isaiah Yeo was gone. Jerome Luai was gone. That's right. So, what does that say to you? Plus, they were behind. Yeah. Usually we see Penrith, so the contrast in, say, their victory against Parramatta the year before, the opening 30 minutes, just dominated, won the game in the first 30. And that's usually how we see Penrith play. Big starters with Leota and Fisher-Harris up front, dominate through their defence, attack through their defence, and blow teams out of the park early in the piece. This time is a little bit different. Couldn't find a way. Brisbane, for all intents and purposes, had the game wrapped up. Yeah. And they just now have this new way of winning. They don't know when they're beaten. And I just think that's going to carry them forward into this year. And even the psychological battle that will happen come finals time in September this year, I think that's where Penrith will have the advantage over anybody that's going to come up against them in the top 8 come September, October time.
I just feel like they just keep losing players, and when's it going to finally break them? You look at their players they've lost, Viliami, Uppy, Stephen Crichton, Kurt Capewell. These guys are all competitors, but they're also creators in their team. They create something out of nothing. I feel like Stephen Crichton leaving is going to leave a massive hole in that team, especially for creativity. What do you reckon, man?
You don't need whoever's coming into centre to be Stephen Crichton. Their systems are so good and their habits, they're so well built into their culture that they're just bringing players in that understand the system, understand the culture, understand their job on the field, and they're still getting away with the wins. When Viliami left, everyone thought, who's going to play there? They're going to lose. That's the thing, yeah. Uppy, and they just keep bringing them on, bringing them in. They have to be the favourites for me. I just think they're just that relentless team that I've never seen anything like it. When I watched them live, defensively and offensively, they just fight for everything for 80 minutes, and that's what every other team in the competition is lacking.
Well, my question will be, how much longer can they play at that intensity? Because sooner or later, it's going to give. It's going to give. It's going to happen. My heart tells me Penrith. 9 years there, love to see what they're doing. But I feel like is their time up?
But would they? Why would they ever get bored of doing what they're doing?
True.
Yeah. They play at an intensity and they train at an intensity because they know it gets results. They know the ingredients to success. So they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. And obviously, when you lose some players, that one door, well, the door's closed for them, but then a new opportunity. Look at Isaac Tango that came in. Like, what a player he is.
Unbelievable.
May, who was injured for pretty much all of last season. In fact, he got injured in the World Cup Challenge. Like, he comes in. Like, how hungry are these young lads going to be force their own legacy? Yes, we got Nathan, we got Jerome Luai, we got Dylan Edwards, Brian Toto at the back, but these new players that come in, they're part of that system. They don't want to be the ones that people look to and go, yeah, he couldn't hack it. Like, there's pressure on them, but there's also that drive and that willingness to like want to impress your teammates and achieve something that hasn't been done before. Obviously the Parramatta teams of the 80s versus this Penrith team, there's a fair bit on the line here. If Penrith can go 4 in a row, that's something we're striving for. So there's another goal there. You think about going back to back, that's not been done. The third one, and then it's not been done since the 80s. Well, 4 in a row, it's not been done since way back to that famous St. George team.
Can they do it? Definitely, I believe so. Is it going to be easy? No. I look at the teams coming for them. You look at the Warriors. They haven't taken a step backwards. In fact, they've actually recruited really well. They've got Kurt Capel on their side. They've got RTS in their side now. So if you're looking at them, I'd definitely be liking my chances. And also, they've got the Daily M Coach of the Year as well. So I'm loving my chances with the Warriors, if I want to be honest. I feel like they're also a bit of a dark horse. They're not really necessarily flying under the radar anymore. Look at their side. Look at the way they played last year. But I feel like they're going to be a big threat to Penrith, along with the Brisbane Broncos. But you look at the Brisbane Broncos now. Yes, they got beat in the final. Are they the same team as they were last year? I don't know. Still questions. That question remains. They have lost Herbie Farnworth. They have lost Thomas Flegler. They've had a couple of positional changes with Selwyn Cobber now going into the centres. I feel like it's going to be a bit of a work in progress, particularly in the early stages of the year. But anyway, I think those 3 teams will definitely go close. Well, I pretty much answered my next question is, can Penrith pull off a 4-peat? But my next question will be, who will be the dark horse of 2024?
Yeah, look, I don't know if they're a dark horse, but I really liked what I saw from the Roosters.
Yes.
In round 1 and in the trial. They obviously fell away last year and they were written off, but I like Suoli'i in the centres. I thought he had a pretty disappointing year last year, being a young kid, especially off the back of the World Cup. I thought he just ran hard. He ran with intent. He was aggressive. Joey Manu, freak. Teddy in the trial, then the way he played in round 1, he's been outstanding. Victor Radley, Lindsay Collins, the wealth of experience. So they're a great side, but they were missing something last year. I feel like they got it back a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Manly's a dark horse. Turbo, I love Brooks at 5'8". I love Brooks at running 5'8". DCE takes control of everything. They're the 2 teams I think that can challenge Penrith. They're my 2 dark horses. I know they're not exactly dark horses, but if you really want to give 2 clubs a chance, it's them 2 for me.
Yeah, I think to back up your point, Reni, with the Roosters, sometimes in sport you need a narrative, you need a story, you need like a bit of a North Star to go to. And for me, that's Jared Waerea-Hargreaves moving on. So, he would never say it himself, but I think those senior players within the club and Trent Robinson himself will be saying, like, look, he's one of Roosters' all-time greats. This man goes out a premiership winner. Yeah. And that sort of can sometimes be the difference in terms of, it's an equal salary cap, so they say. There's a lot of, it's hard to split some teams. Sometimes you need a narrative, like you say, about Penrith. Could go 4 in a row, beat Parramatta, the Battle of the West. That's their narrative. That's what they'll be telling their players. Everyone's writing you off, saying you can't do it. Yep. But with Roosters, I think that's what they're going to pin their hopes on. It's like, this is Jared's last year. Let's get behind him. Let's send this man out a winner because he deserves it. Look what he's done for the football club. So I like the Roosters in terms of their chances. But for me, a bit of a dark horse, a team that came from outside the 8, I'm going to have to say it's the Bulldogs. And look, wow. I accept my biases. I do work there. But I just really like what Stephen Crichton, the guy we spoke about, coming from Penrith. He's walked into that club from day one. He's the man. Yeah. He's the man. He's already showing everything that he did at Penrith. He knows the ingredients for success because success leaves clues. He's taken that with him, that from Penrith, applying it at the Bulldogs. I agree. And he's already his influence, he's rubbing off on people. He's making such a difference. So, look, I give centres plenty of stick. I think it's the easiest position in the game to play. I don't think they work anywhere near hard enough. They're egotistical. Centres are a different breed. They're not really footballers. Even wingers source people.
I was waiting for that.
No, you guys actually have a dig. You'll get back and carry the ball at the
carrying.
back of the field. The centres, they just ghost around, wait for some ball. Oh, didn't get any ball. Well, just go and get some then. But Stephen Crichton, what a player, what an influence he has been so far. And then, you know, some good signings in and around him, and some young forwards there that, if they can make the step up and go and really sort of advance, the Bulldogs, I reckon, will kick into the 8.
Can I say, I'd be absolutely terrified if I played in this team and I let it try my edge. Could you imagine him steering
I
over?
can imagine. Yeah, I played alongside Jimmy a few games, but yeah.
With the Roosters, like last year, beginning of last year, they came in with a lot of hype. You know, they made a lot of recruitments. You know, Swat Litty, you had Brandon Smith coming to the team. I feel like with the Roosters last year, they were very unstable, particularly in the halves. They were chopping and changing. Sammy Walker, Luke Q was getting injured. We had multiple concussions. Brandon Smith's first year at the club didn't understand the systems, didn't understand how the halves played. So there was a recipe for disaster. But not only that, they didn't help themselves with the suspensions. They did have injuries, and also there was really ill discipline with the ball. But I definitely like what I'm seeing from the trials with the Roosters. I'm liking what I saw in round 1. We have that luxury. We definitely saw that, and I reckon they'll be definitely a top 3. And like you said, man, I have to agree with you on that. They've recruited well. Luke Brooks looks like he's got a new lease of life. You know, obviously being at the Tigers for so many years, hasn't really tasted success. But now with Cherry Evans alongside him, you know, they've got a star-studded team as well, Manly. Like, they'll definitely, I reckon, ruffle a few feathers as the season goes on.
As long as Turbo stays fit. And with Brooks, you don't have to worry about leading a team around the park, especially a struggling side like the Tigers, right? So if he can play his own natural game, let DCE control most of it, chime in where he needs to.
Yep.
Like he'll start enjoying NRL now. The poor kid's played 10 years of NRL in a losing side, never made the 8.
I know. Yeah.
He deserves to enjoy the year and do well.
So now the flip side of the coin, boys, our wooden spooners. Have we had no one wants that dreaded prize. Has either of us ever wanted?
Yeah. Couple. Shit. No one.
Who do you reckon, Ren? Who do you reckon? Who's your pick?
It has to be, for me, the Tigers. Unfortunately, they just don't have those, big name players that can dig them out. They have big name players, but the thing I like about the Tigers finally in years is that I see a little bit of stability in the club. Right?
Yep.
So it was always around Pascoe. Is that his name? Pascoe. Like, I'd only watch the news here and there, and it just always is like, man, this place is shambles.
Yeah.
It's a shit fight.
Yeah.
I just feel like with Benji at helm and at the helm, and they're a bit more, the board members are obviously gone. It just feels a little bit more stable. So I don't expect miracles from the Tigers.
Yep.
But I see them going in the right direction. But unfortunately, they'll probably pick up another spoon.
Work in progress.
I'm with you, Ren. I think, they've got that stability, but it's going to be a slow burn. It's going to take time. Benji, rookie coach, he had sort of the reins last year, but still, this is a huge challenge. And look, you spoke about Luke Brooks and being in that losing mentality. The Tigers are still in that. Like, it's difficult to sort of explain to people, but when you get so accustomed to losing, and when the game's on the line, it's very difficult not to just fall back to those traits that you have as much as you train and you practice. And also the thing, look, the Tigers are going in the right direction, and I love the signing of Jerome Luai. But I just feel when things get difficult, the playing group, especially some of those younger lads, they're going to start to think of 2025 instead of 2024. And like I say, because of the way the NRL's structured with their signings, the Tigers have to go and land him before a ball's even kicked for this season. They have to do that. I get why they did that. But I just worry whether that could be, could cause them some pain during this year with some of those younger players. If they're not picking up victories, do they just put the cue on the rack and say, well, we're going to wait for the saviour to come? Because he's the biggest signing in decades at the Tigers. Yes, they brought in people like Bateman. They've managed to sign people like Clemmer. That year they went on the signings with Papali'i. They went on the signing spree. They bought like Ben Matalino, Joshie Reynolds, Moses Mbai. They bought these players in. None of those are the caliber of Jerome Luai.
No, not even close.
That is the star of, like, to bring him in. This is a genuine marquee signing, which is great for the Tigers. I just worry it's going to cause them a little bit of pain in 2024.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a slow burn, like you said. Like I like the recruitments. You look at their halves pairing, obviously fresh new faces there. Jerome Luai coming next year, obviously one of the biggest signings of the game thus far. But again, just so much change, hierarchy, management. You look at last year, I feel like with Benji and Shainesy in charge, I feel like, you know, two different ideologies. You know, obviously Benji, more of a modern style coach. You got Shainesy, old school, always falling back into his ways, what he knows. And I feel like the best thing they did was, you know what, Benji, you're our man. Like, we're going to go with you, full steam ahead. You got full control of this team and this club. We're back here. But unfortunately, I feel I'm going to have to agree with you boys. It's going to be a work in progress. And, you know, I like to see the Tigers do well. I really do. Like, I'm sick of them staying at the bottom of the ladder. I feel like there's a lot of promise coming like in the future for him, but unfortunately not right now. To our next question, boys, what do you reckon our biggest sliders of 2024 will be? So I feel like there's a few in mind, but Gemma, you can kick us off with that.
Look, mate, you know what? I'm not popular in New Zealand because I've said this a few times. I just don't know if the Warriors can do it again.
Are you kidding?
I know, mate. You know what? I have this argument with myself. They're the only team in the top four that's improved their roster.
Yes.
All the others in that top four have lost players, or Melbourne roughly about the same.
Yep.
Warriors have improved, but I just don't know if Sean Johnson can do what he did again. Like, he had one of the most incredible years. And it's very difficult to repeat doing that.
That's true.
And I don't
falling
know.
out of the eight, completely out of the eight.
I know, and I know I'm going to get I'm going to get fast forward September when they're playing finals.
It's on camera.
I've said it a few times. I just don't know what it is. There's no evidence. It's just one of those feelings where you're like, similar to Cowboys last year, 2022, they're top four, and then they just drop off because I don't know. I think teams will treat the Warriors differently than what they did last year. They've now got that reputation because they are so good. Teams, you know, and that's not to say that teams didn't turn up last year against them, but there was that, you know, it's just the Warriors. They're going to fall off the cliff. I remember that game against Cronulla Sharks, which was huge in their season, where Sharks got off to a big lead and Warriors clawed their way back, and I think Shawnee Johnson kicked a penalty to win the game. It was a massive boost for them. So little moments like that, everything went right for them last year. I don't know, maybe the luck's going to run out. I just don't know if they can repeat that level of performance. And let's not forget, we speak about these players coming in. If Sean Johnson doesn't have the season of his life, they're nowhere near that team. And I know how difficult it is to replicate those types of plays. You know, he's obviously towards the back end of his career. In fact, he was supposed to retire, but he's gone again. So that's my concern with the Warriors.
What about you, Ren?
Did you say the biggest sliders out of the eight, or
just out of
any?
the eight?
Oh, look,
well, even worse than what they did previously.
I think for me, I'm worried about Souths.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm extremely worried about the Rabbitohs. People are saying they weren't possibly fit enough in round one. I didn't see it like that. I just thought maybe their intensity wasn't there compared to Manly. They couldn't match them in intensity. But there's some worrying signs from South. So I saw a statistically recently about their last sort of 8 games last year and the scorelines put against them. Defensively, there just doesn't seem to be this aura about them, or this intimidation factor for me. Not since the days of the Burgess boys, Sam in particular, Ben Teo, GI. You bring in Wayne, and it almost like they had to fabricate this energy to live under and gain the respect from someone like Wayne, and they did really well. Now Wayne's gone. They don't make the 8 last year.
Power vacuum.
Yeah. And I just think there's something missing within that side that just worries me long term for the club. And I've picked them not to make the 8 this year. I just think they need to find some aggression defensively. It's almost like they play with this self-preservation to just get through a game. Like they could have the foot in their throat and they'll invite teams back into the game.
They wait for the big moments.
They can put points on, but they can't grind.
Yeah.
they're a 65-minute team. And that could fall away. And the more the pressure builds against them, like if they start losing games, I can see them falling away.
I'm unfortunately going to have to agree with you on that one. I'm a bit worried about them. Obviously, they've got an aging roster in terms of their key players. You've got Cody, you've got Damien there. Tom's leaving at the end of the year. Slowly as the years go on, they are losing that shine to them, that intimidating side that we once knew.
Well, the team's starting to read that play. You know, you're never always going to stop that left-hand edge with AJ scoring in the corner, but a team's picking up on it. You need some of their bench players to start stepping up. Like when Totola goes off or Tom goes off, you want to see an increase in intensity. Dave Mawali, it's his third year in first grade now. I want to see. I saw him play in SG ball, and his kid went straight to first grade.
Yeah,
third year in first grade. I want to see you go to another level.
Yeah,
Tallis Duncan, he's a good kid. I just think they need to start finding that explosiveness coming out off the bench, matching it with sides to give guys like Totola, those guys, a little bit of a rest. And then when they come back in, obviously the intensity picks up again. There just seems to be this like roller coaster of waves of the game they go through.
Yep.
They're never sort of consistent. And it's worrying.
Sign, yeah.
I mean, JD's under a fair bit of pressure.
Yeah, definitely JD's under pressure. I feel like Campbell Graham is a massive loss. He is a player that always puts his hand up when the team's going backwards.
Yep.
Like he will take that tough carry when no one wants it. You know, he always makes that crucial tackle, and he was so solid for that right side defense, particularly protecting Lockie Elias. So he's gone for 5 or 6 months. They have recruited Jackie White, and so it'll be interesting to see how he molds comes into the fold. It is rumored that he's going to be on that left edge, but I think the question remains: is Latrell going to be their long-term fullback? And you know, I feel like the cries will get louder if he doesn't perform. But me personally, I feel like he is a fullback. I feel like he's ready. Looking at him on the weekend, I feel like it's the fittest I've seen him in a few years now. But again, time will tell.
Do you think Jack could play back row?
I think he'd be wasted there.
I think so too.
Like you'd have to do way too much defensively. Yeah. I think for me, South's issue is they know what they're capable of doing.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think they rely on that. And they never seem stressed or worried. Like there always seems like, oh, it's all right. We're gonna come back.
Yeah.
Like they only need 7 minutes, 10 minutes, and the game goes. They're the one team that you wouldn't want to be, you know, well, apart from Penrith Panthers, obviously, after what we saw. But they're one of the teams in the comp where you go, the game's not done until it's done, because they have got quick points in them.
It's true.
And they've got this insane ability to go up that left edge, link some passes together, and come up with line breaks and come up with points. And when it sticks, it's beautiful to watch when you've got Latrell combining with Cody, putting cut-out passes to AJ. It's incredible to watch. And then you throw Jack White in the mix. I just don't think edge forward suits his game. I think that would be a mistake. It wouldn't surprise me to see him at some point play 5'8" and maybe Cody Walker go to 7. And that would be hard on Lockie Elias, because I think he's a fantastic young player, but sometimes you probably need just that little bit of experience and get your really good players onto the park, or perhaps a little bit of centre for Jack White, and then really see that left edge come alive with Cody, with Jack White and Latrell and AJ. That's really dangerous. You've almost got an embarrassment of riches and so many options. You can imagine the headaches that defenders coming up against them would have, because you just don't know. You know, if you've got Latrell at the back but you've got Jack Shaw, then what are you supposed to do? Because you're supposed to look after Latrell, but then you've got Jack White in front of you, so it's very difficult for any defence going up against that man-on-man.
You know, I'm worried about Newcastle Knights. I definitely feel like they overachieved last year off the back of Kalen Ponga's outstanding year. Like, what he did last year was absolutely freakish, but can he, like you said about Sean Johnson, can he replicate that same form like he did last year? Question mark remains, but obviously they were very poor against the Canberra Raiders. Like, you look on paper and you think to yourself, playing at home as well, you think this is going to be a walk in the park.
Kick the season off.
Come on. Like, you know, you've got so much hype around you coming into this season. You've got the team to do it. You've got arguably one of the best backlines in the comp. You've got forwards of the Saifidi brothers, young forwards coming in. Very underwhelming.
Canberra just played a perfect round one game, and Newcastle played an awful round one game. Like, round one we typically see high completion,
Yes.
quite a simple approach. You've got to earn the right, play through that middle third,
Correct.
and then shift when it's on.
Yep.
If you watch, that's how Canberra pretty much played. Very simple tries that they scored up until the last couple at the end there. But Newcastle, for me, they seemed fixated on trying to shift the ball at all times when it hadn't been earned, and they came up with too many mistakes, and that's because the Canberra defence put them under immense pressure.
They did.
But also it didn't seem like they'd created any options, and that comes from or off the back of earning the right to shift. You can't just shift for the sake of shifting. So I don't know if I'm willing to put the line through Newcastle yet, but they've got to learn and they've got to be better than what they were on the weekend against Canberra. That performance was beyond disappointing for everyone there. And, you know, if they're challenging for top four, like they really should be aiming for off the back of how they finished last season.
Yep.
You know, games at home against teams like Canberra,
You win them.
you got to be winning them. They're the types of games that, you know, if Newcastle do what they did last year and go on a run and they're close to the top four, you'd be looking back at it and going,
Yep.
what?
Yep.
What were we doing?
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like as well, like with this season in particular, there's so many teams in the mix. Like last year, I feel like 1 to 2, there was a massive gap between the rest of the teams in the comp. You know, the Penrith and the Broncos, big gap compared to the rest of the teams. Like this year, you've got, like you said, Roosters, Manly, you've got Penrith, you've got Broncos, you've got potentially Canterbury. Like they're 5 pretty much good teams that could make a shake-up of this competition. So now my question will be is, who's going to be the biggest overachievers this year?
Overachievers. Well, I'll go the Bulldogs again.
You went the Bulldogs.
Yeah. I'll go them to overachieve.
Yep.
And, you know, again, I say it and people laugh because, you worked there and used to play for the club, but I reckon they'll overachieve 100%.
I feel like they'll rattle a few teams. I feel they're looking fit. I feel like they're recruited well as well. I think they're lacking, if I'm going to be honest, a bit of punch up front. No disrespect to who they've got in the front row right now, but like they don't have that big guy that they look to, like a Fisher Harris, Hargraves, a Burgess, but they do have probably one of the best back lines in the comp, that's for sure. What about you, Reni?
For me, I mean, I really enjoyed the Dolphins last year. I know they started off well. I think it's what people don't realise is someone like Gilbert when he left Cowboys, right? It's those little 1%ers that the average person doesn't pick up on. That, you know, guys that have played first grade, you really enjoy playing games with people like that. And I thought Gilbert was a massive cornerstone for their defensive efforts in the first 4 or 5 rounds, obviously with the Bromwich brothers and Kafusi experience. Then you bring in Flegler. Obviously Gilbert's injured, which is unfortunate. Flegler, another player that did that for the Broncos, not really doesn't have the profile of a Payne Haas, but gets through all the shit that other players don't want to, puts his head in places that other people don't want to put their head.
True.
And then the centre, the Englishman,
Herbie.
Farmworth, yeah.
He was probably the best.
He's a gun.
On par with Critter. It's like as a centre, like free. I think they'll only improve. I mean, come on, mate.
I don't know, man. I'm not falling victim to the
convinced.
hype. I just can't. I don't know. I can't see it. I feel like Wayne's got 1 foot out the door. They've got an aging roster. You know, the Bromwich brothers are getting on. You got Felice that's getting on. I don't even know if they know who their halves are going to be long term. Like, you know, you got Katoa, very young. I feel like he needs a bit more game time.
I like Katoa.
How long is the experience going to last? Yeah.
Well, out of all the young halves that came into the game last year, Katoa was by far the best.
Yep, I agree with that.
You know, so if he's a working development, especially under Wayne, or who's the assistant coaches up there? I mean, I think he's
Christian
a big
Wolf.
star.
Christian Wolf, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well, there you go. You know, there's big raps about Wolfie as a coach.
But then you talk about Tommy Gilbert, right? All those 1%ers, all those key areas that, you know, majority of players don't want to get involved in. He's gone for the season now. So those are pretty big shoes to fill. Now, we had this discussion last year, if they'll make the 8 or not. I said they were. I was pretty pumped for the Dolphins coming to the competition, and you predicted they wouldn't. You got that right. But, yeah, I don't know.
What are they paying to get in the 8?
I don't know. It's a very good question. I'll bring it up sometime.
We can gamble now.
I don't know. Like, we'll see. We'll wait and see. Obviously, Dolphins are very exciting. Don't know much about them too much at the moment, but yeah,
Can we go back to the Dogs for a sec?
Yeah.
I loved what I saw in the trial. In particular, those 1%ers, those habits. Defensively, you know, they were getting up hard. I was a little bit concerned in the first set when they got rolled 50 metres. I think they do lack size, the Dogs, up front, but it was those small habits within their game that I thought something's changed here. You bring Critter in, obviously, the wealth of experience. I'll probably ask you this, Jammer. Do you think having Birdo at 5'8" could be... Would you put him to centre, or do you think leaving him at 6? You might not be able to answer this question.
No, I can't. I personally, I think he's a better 5'8".
Yep.
Like, he needs his hands on the ball. And plus, one of his greatest strengths is his kick.
Yep.
So, you talk about lack of size. If the Bulldogs are penned in their own end, like Matt Burton's boot can change a set. It can change the complete momentum of a game of football if he can get it over the back three. The kick chase gets down there. If it's maybe not the biggest, but the fittest forward pack, that means you can pin teams in and then they struggle to get back. Where if Burton's out in the centres, I don't think that long kicking game can be utilised as much in that position, where if he's playing in the halves, he's closer to the ball, he can swing to the other side and just launch it downtown. Obviously, he's an incredibly skillful player as well. And yeah, if the Bulldogs strengthen in the halves and they can look after that area, then you put Matt Burton in the centres. But I think at this moment in time, he needs to play 5'8", get his hands on the football a little bit more. And let's not forget, last year, I think it was his first year as a full 5'8" year in a team that was up and down, went to Melbourne, won there, but then struggled. I think, we're probably a bit quick to react. We talk about Katoa. The lad turned 20 a couple of weeks ago, and he's still one of the young, exciting halves, but he's out the team. And you can imagine what he'd be feeling, but he's still very, very young. And the same with Matt Burton. He's early 20s, so give the lad some time. Drew Hutchison comes in as his half partner, or Toby Sexton, so he'll still need... That's a bit of a work in progress, but I think Matt Burton's best position for the Bulldogs at this moment in time is certainly 5'8".
Who do you think is going to be the biggest villain of this year? The guy that everyone just, in the headlines, like you look at Jerome Luais, Latrell, Cody sometimes. Is there a particular player that stands out where you think, he's going to be the biggest villain, not only for the media and for the fans, but for other teams?
You know what? I reckon Olakau'atu could play for New South Wales and really stir up the Queenslanders. That's where I'm going with this.
Oh, he's a pure athlete, man.
His start to last year was incredible, and it faded away as soon as the Origin talk started.
Yeah,
it sort of faded.
Yeah.
I think he just wasn't having that same impact. He started really well against Souths in round one.
Yep.
If he can continue that form, then for me, he's got to be in that New South Wales team. And if he can cause Queensland some dramas, talk about playing the villain, there'd be no bigger villain than someone from New South Wales. If they can go up there to Queensland, get a couple of victories, lift the shield, he'll be enemy number one in Queensland. I love him as a player. He can do some things with his size, his skill, his footwork, his power. He's got it all. He's a frightening human being to standing next to him. You're like,
he's a giant of a man.
Even looking through the screen, I thought, gee, I'm glad I don't have to tackle him. Like these back rowers these days, they're all... We only had one, Mace, 6'5". They're all 6'5".
Mace is fucking big.
He'll tell you how big he is too.
Oh, fuck, he will.
Biggest villain, I'm going to be probably a little bit generic with this one, and it's pretty obviously one of your Englishmen, Victor Radley. He when he gets it right, you saw what he could do against Brisbane the other night. But when he gets it wrong, and he's teetering, he's redlining. Like he is a few centimetres of having his shoulder in the wrong spot. I hope he gets it right, because I watch footy now to see kids like that put shots on, play aggressively, cut from the old cloth kind of thing. But if he starts getting it wrong, you know what his temper's like. It's just going to be sin bin after sin bin. And he needs to be on the field for the Roosters. So I'll just stick with Radley for this year. I'm going to be watching him closely.
My answer is pretty close to yours. I'm not going to particularly name one player, but I'm going to name a team. I think the Sydney Roosters. I don't think anyone wants to see them win. I know when I was a kid growing up, I used to hate the Sydney Roosters, back in your days when you were playing at Canterbury. Obviously, being a staunch Canterbury supporter growing up as a kid. So, I just think Sydney Roosters, you know, they've got this stigma about them. You know, they're a rich club. They can acquire whoever they want. You look at their team. Like, how did they acquire that team? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, under the salary cap.
What are you suggesting?
No,
What are you suggesting?
Anyway, I'll leave that up to public opinion. But yeah, I think the Sydney Roosters are going to be the people's villains this year. All right, boys, I've got some whiteboards here. I want your prediction for our top 8 for 2024. Okay, let me hand these out to you. Gemma.
Thank you. Let's have a look at this. This is hard.
The sauce. Righto.
Hopefully we all can write. So 1 to 8. Let's go. This could be.
Nostradamus.
I have to say, you're looking quite fresh for a man that just got off the plane from Vegas.
I know my insides don't feel great there. I've got mine. I'm copying the one I did for NRL the other week.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to stick solid. That was an in-depth review of the whole season ahead. And it's so hard to do these things.
This is so hard.
You've got to look, mate, the strength of the competition, you've got to leave so many good teams out. Like, so many.
I'm actually stumped here at the moment. I'm missing someone, but I just can't see it. I'm stuck between 6 and 8.
We'll just copy Jammers.
Did the Cowboys sneak in? Did the Cowboys?
I've not got them in. But I know what you're saying, Sauce. You know the best thing about this? Just put someone. No one's ever going to hold you to account. It's not like they're going to go, "Oh, you said that." Yeah. Or if they do come in, you're like, "See, I told you. I've been saying it all year."
Come out as a genius. You're stuck, eh?
I'm so stuck. I'm waiting for him to go.
Oh well. All right, my top 8. Yep. I'm on the Waz bandwagon.
Oh, no way.
I'm on the Waz bandwagon proper. I honestly think they can do it. I think they've recruited well. It's now or never for the Warriors. Again, like you said, Sean's not getting any younger. You got AFB leaving end of this year, I should say. And I just feel like they're riding a wave of momentum, particularly with the whole country, you know, cheering them on. New Zealand's going to be a hard place to win football games. So you think about it, they're going to be playing half their games from home. Tough place to travel to. I'm going to go the Warriors.
All right, well, I've not got the Warriors in my 8. There's mine. If you can read that, you're a genius. It's like an Egyptian hieroglyphics.
The Dogs at 6.
Oh, wow. Yes.
That is,
mate, like I said,
that's coming from the heart, not your head.
Well, you've got to believe, mate. All about belief.
Yeah.
Roosters at top, Penrith second, Souths in third. I did this before the season kicked off. I probably have my reservations now, but then with Latrell, you know, he's only going to get better if he becomes the player he was at the start of last season, and obviously Jackie Whiten. Broncos 4th, Storm 5th, Dogs 6th, Sharks and Manly to wrap it off.
Yeah, left Sharks out.
It's hard though, isn't it? Like
left Shark is out.
It's so hard.
Oh, what about you, Ren? Just a copy and paste.
I won't turn mine around yet. I've got the Riff, Penrith at 1, Roosters 2, Brisbane, Manly, Storm, Warriors, Para, and the Dolphins.
Oh, you're really riding the wave, aren't you?
I'm riding it.
All right. How good. All right, and lucky last. I know you got to get going, boys, but who do you reckon's going to take out Daly M this year?
I'm going to go with Ryan Pappenhausen.
Whoa! That's a big call.
You just took mine, Jim. You just took mine.
The only problem with Pappenhausen is he's in competition with Munster and Grant and Jerome Hughes. That's his only issue. But if Pappenhausen can come back, I reckon there'll be more of a incentive to give him points because he's a bit of like the new kid in town, even because he's been out injured for so long. So I think that gets him slightly ahead of Munster. That's the only issue with Melbourne Storm plays with this spine. If Melbourne win, it's going to be spine player that picks up 3 points.
Yep.
Can that be Ryan Pappenhausen? I think personally, I think it could be.
I like it, Ren.
I thought about it. Mine was Pappenhausen too on the way here, but just given what he's been through, especially last year, and I'd love to see him do well, and just to win at Dally M after a horrendous, however long he's been injured. You know, I really want to see him do well, but. You got a good point, Jim. Like being in a side full of stars as well, it's hard to pick up those points every week. You tend to see the bottom 8 sides if their best player usually picks up points. Not saying that Ponga didn't deserve it, but you know it's just that's the way the structure's set up. So I'd like Pappenhausen to win it.
I'm going to say Nathan Cleary.
Yeah.
He's yet to win it, believe it or not. He's yet to win it.
Well, again, he has to share a lot of his points with his teammates. Like you look at Dylan Edwards at the back, Brian Toto, Jerome Luai, like the two
Fish,
big boys up front, like
Moses,
Isaiah Yo, like
Isaiah
they
Yo.
all influence the game. So you've got to play better than all those teammates as well as being a good teammate yourself. So I don't know if that, I don't know. Like Ren says, if you're the star at one team, they go well. Like SJ, like Ponga, like you're more inclined to win it. So
I feel like if there's a year that he needs to step up even more, it has to be this year for them to go any close to win a 4-peat. I honestly do. I feel like Stephen Crichton was a massive hole in that side, and what we saw against the Brisbane Broncos at grand final was nothing short of extraordinary. So, Claes, money's on you, brother. Boys, thanks for coming in today. It's a wrap. I really, really appreciate it. Good to see you, Ren. Jammer, always good to see you, and I'm looking forward to coming on your podcast. No curveballs, I hope.
no curveballs. I'm doing my research, making some calls, lads. So be ready.
Thanks again, boys. Looking forward to seeing you next time.
Cheers, lad.
Thanks, awesome.